Today, I am joined by Chaz, also known as PDX Graffin on Twitter. We're going to be talking about his super collection. It's been a few weeks since we've had a super collector on, and I wanted to bring somebody back talking super collections again today. Chaz, welcome.
Appreciate you for having me. This is fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am excited too. I've had some autograph collectors on in the past, but I've never had anybody who's undertaken an autograph project quite like you're doing. And so I'm going to be excited to dig into that a little bit. But like I always do with these super collector conversations, is I like to get the background of kind of what is your hobby history. Everybody's got a little bit of a different twist, a little bit of a different angle that has kind of influenced where their super collection goes. And so I always like to give that opportunity to learn about what your hobby background is. So maybe let's just start there. What's your hobby history? What's your background?
Absolutely. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to be in the NBA. I mean, basketball is just my thing. So the family's always been a huge Blazers fans, as you can see. So, and again, in Oregon, we only had one professional team pretty much growing up. So I mean, that was the show in town. So I definitely grew up a Blazers fan, as you can see with all the craziness. But then that kind of just led into basketball cards also, and then led into going to basketball games, Blazer games, and then I started getting autographs, and I was like, this is pretty cool, meeting the players, getting the stories, the interaction with them, and it just kind of all exploded since then. My mom, fortunately, let me keep stuff and didn't throw away stuff when I was, out of camp or something. So I've kind of just collected the stuff since I was a kid, and it's just kind of grown from there.
It's clear that based on your background, and so in case anybody who's listening to the audio only version of this, his background is full of all kinds of basketball memorabilia, basketball photos, cereal boxes, all kinds of basketball stuff. Curious, were you or did you collect as a kid other sports as well? Did you have a favorite baseball team, football team, any other sports, or was basketball kind of it for you?
Basketball definitely ran the house for me. I definitely am a fan of football, baseball. I played those sports also. I was actually probably better at baseball than anything, but basketball and the Blazers mainly just they that was my main thing. And now that I get older, definitely, I've thought of kind of collecting some baseball here, but I'm already, as you can see, I'm already, head to toe in this stuff. So it's like I'm gonna save myself some money and just stick to what I've kind of made my PC and stuck there, stayed in my lane.
So you came of age in the 90s, but
hmm
you're continuing obviously to be a passionate Blazers fan today. The Blazers have existed since the 70s, right? Do you have a favorite Blazer? Is it Drexler? Is it Lillard, Cliff Robinson? Who's your favorite Blazer if you can name one?
So as a kid, kind of going back into the graphing, that mid 90s, 96 draft was probably my favorite. That's when I like really started going to games and everything. And Jermaine O'Neal was the Blazers rookie. He was, came out of high school. That was new again. A few other guys did it before him, but he was 17 on the Blazers, and I wanted to be in the NBA. So I was just like, this guy's so cool, and he was so nice, and I was so scared. You know how it is getting those first autographs when you're a kid, and it's like I was nervous to go up to play. He was always approachable and so cool, and I was like, I'm going to start collecting him. So I definitely got some Jermaine O'Neal, a shelf here. I got the Drexler shelf, but those were probably my two main guys as a kid. Not your Vetus, not my Vetus, but our Vetus. He was definitely, I have that shirt somewhere around here, but he was another fan favorite of mine. As I got older, B Roy was that dude that I really rooted for. So, but for the most part, another one of my PCs is Jermaine O'Neal, Blazers stuff for sure. So that's my guy. With the jersey, of course, too.
That's right. Let's talk a little bit about this autograph project that you're working on. You know, 91, 92 Skybox is the set. Tell me a little bit about this autograph project.
So, if you follow me on Twitter, 91, 92 Skybox, greatest set ever made. I say it often. So, obviously I'm biased, but just I've said it a couple times on other shows, but as a kid, my mom would buy me a pack of Skybox at the grocery store. So that's kind of how it started, and just really loved those. I don't know, just obviously they stand out. They're unique. They just the graphics on them. It was the first time it wasn't just a basic photo, had the graphics and the color, just the 90s vibe all over it, just dripping with it. So I mean, for whatever reason, it just pulled me in. And then I started getting those were pretty much the cards that I had as a kid. So I would take those to the games, and it just started kind of building from there. But it's just always been my set. And then when I got a little bit older, I realized, I have dang near half this set. It's like, I'm going to really make a push for this. So, more recently, I really started, doing signings and other stuff to really kind of, again, push for that to complete the set. So that's where I'm at right now.
You mentioned when it started, you were going to games, you were getting some autographs, you were bringing the stuff that you had on hand, right? When did that switch flip and you decided to just really make a push, and you were intentional about only getting those autographs to kind of continue to fill out the ones that you needed? Was there a specific point where you were like, you know what, I'm going to get every one of these autographed?
So like I said, when I was a kid, that's really the only cards I had. Early 2000, 2008-ish or so. I got season tickets with a couple of my friends, and we used to go all the time, and I'd always just bring cards for other people. And so I would just kind of graph hard, but I always had the Skybox stuff. So and then now once I had kids and the wife and everything, I don't really graph as much anymore. So that's now I'm really focused on off camera. I know I mentioned to you, we go down to summer league every year. So I don't, it's so hectic if you're a grapher down there to try and bring something for everybody. So again, I just narrowed it down to the Skybox stuff. It limits my stress and my being overwhelmed. So I probably in the last, 5 to 10 years, I've just really focused on the Skybox. If I'm doing anything autograph related, I'll look up the signings, and those are the ones that I really care about for sure, the Skybox.
So how many do you have now? There's what, 500-ish cards in the set, a little
So
over 500 cards in the set.
there's actually there's actually 600 and something, but a bunch of those are like checklists. They're the team logo stuff. There's stuff that I've kind of cut out from the running to get signed. So there's about 500 and something that I've made. Those are the ones I want to get signed, and then I have about 476, I believe now is what I'm up to signed. So I'm just under the 100, need 100 left for the set.
Very cool. Now, that's a process, right? There's some of these guys that it seems like they show up to every event. They're at, a lot of, signing events and that type of thing. You've got some mega stars in there with multiple cards. Some of the highest profile players have multiple cards in that set. And then there's even a few that have passed away, right? So, kind of where are you at from that perspective on the needing the guys like Jordan? Do you have the multiple Jordans? Have you tracked any of those down yet? Or are there still guys that have maybe passed away that you don't have, that you're going to have to try to find somebody who happened to get that card autographed? Kind of where are you at in that journey of the guys that you still need?
There's that. I get that question a lot, and Jordan's usually that's my answer for that. I think he has 8 technically cards in the set. So I meant realistically, that's going to be really hard, and that's the biggest hurdle. Like I said, I have the one base card, so that's the thing. I kind of have like a hierarchy from the set. I really want to finish series one, obviously, before series, but obviously I take them as I get them. But the series one and like the base cards, I'm really close to just finishing the base cards. Now, obviously, I'm crazy and I work on the subsets and just every little thing. So that's kind of my hierarchy is I start with the base ones and then I go for the subsets and things like that. But actually, it's funny as I'm saying that, I'm thinking in the last few years, I've kind of switched that because the ones that do pop up on eBay and what most people would get signed are the base ones. So the subset ones are actually harder to get. So if I do have a signing or something, Patrick Ewing, I recently got through a signing. So I got some of those subset cards signed before I would a base that I have seen pop up regularly. So I try and go for those rare ones, the ones that do pop up on eBay. Excuse me. The kids back in the day, they didn't get the random subsets or the team card sign. They always went for the cool base card. So, like I said, those ones are a little bit more rare. So I do go after those, but I get them as I get them pretty much.
That Ewing was probably a nice one to check off, right? He's typically been a pretty tough autograph to get.
He's number two. Everybody asks, and I definitely say Jordan's number one. Ewing. I've told this story a couple times, but I've tried being a grad like 20 plus years. I've met Ewing. He came back and was a coach for a while, assistant coach. So I've had plenty of one-on-one and interactions, and his thing is just he just doesn't sign. I've seen guys literally offer him $100 bills. Just he it's just not his thing, and that's actually pretty normal with a lot of the guys. There's a few that just they refuse to sign. It's actually a funny story. I was just down in Vegas, and I saw Dale Ellis, and I need him on like 3 cards, and he said no, and I was like, so I'll just have to figure out a show or a signing or something for those guys. But some guys are cool about signing, and others just they don't have any interest in it. So
You've gotten a lot of them in person, it sounds like, but that can't be the only way, right?
no.
Do you have a process that you followed? Save searches through the mail? Like, what's your process for trying to track down these ones that you still need?
All of the above. So definitely majority of them have been in person throughout the years of doing this. I've done TTM through the mail stuff for sure. There's definitely guys that Robert Parrish and just guys that are known through the mail signers, pick those up. But then recently it's been a lot of signings and things like that. So yeah, again, I just kind of get them as I get them, and if I can, again, summer league, I go down there and there's a lot of signings or just appearances, and I'm that guy. I have my little case, and I just bring the Skybox cards in case I randomly see people. Again, I always say this kind of funny, like there's guys I'll go to basketball games, but I'll just bring a card for Michael Thompson because he's the radio announcer. I don't care about any of the players, the current players, and I'm the guy going after the old heads, as they say.
What about like direct connections? People, you've been doing this for a while. Like you said, if we follow along on Twitter, you post updates of getting these, and you're becoming more and more known for chasing this autograph set. Do you have connections out there who are people who are keeping an eye out for you, and if they see some or they find somebody who's got a 10 or 15 or 20 of them or something from their own collection that they're moving on from? Do you have people who are like making those connections for you to try to help you track these down?
Absolutely. That's probably my favorite part of the hobby. It's we all kind of know each other's PCs and we kind of look out for each other. So that is the cool thing. I definitely have some people, and I get random DMs and hey, with a picture, hey, you got this one, you got this one, and it's awesome. It's awesome because I have definitely gotten a lot of cards that way. And that's kind of why I got more involved in Twitter and really put it out there because it's interesting. The more you put it out there, it comes back too. So it's really cool. So not only that, people look out for me at shows, in-person stuff. I definitely, again, going back to your previous question, I have saved searches like crazy. I have, the misspellings. I have 91 Skybox. I have 92 Skybox, 91 with a dash, I have everything. So anytime something Skybox sign pops up, I'm definitely seeing it. So I got my antennas out there for sure. And it's fun to see, what tomorrow brings. You never know who's going to pop up or who's going to hit you up. It's kind of cool.
What's your most memorable experience of getting one of these autographed cards?
That's a good question. I go blank a lot of times with these because, again, I've probably gotten at least 300 maybe of these cards signed in person. So I just have a lot of just random interactions. Like I said, doing the graphing things, if graphers, the stories, it's awesome meeting people and getting them to look. Again, when I go more recently, it's usually the coach, their assistant coaches now, these guys that played in the early 90s or their radio announcers. So they don't always get recognized anymore. So it's kind of cool to see them, light up, or they'll have a little conversation with you about it. I tell the story often. I was at the Bellagio in Vegas, and David Robinson walked by. So that was like one of those cool ones, the guys that have 5 or 6 cards in the set, and you see I'm at my childhood hero, walking by, and you go into go mode, and you go into go, and you're like, I got to figure out which ones to get, and it's just that's the fun of the graph, the chase. It's satisfying for sure.
Now I know you post some of your updates on Twitter, but do you have a website, or do you have a place that people can go to see kind of where you're at in the list, and what you might still need? Is there a place that people can go to follow along, and maybe see if they can kind of help identify some of these that you still need?
I I wish I was that organized, but I'm not. I just have Twitter right now, and I have a list on my iPhone, that I email out every once in a while. But usually, like I said, people just hit me up and say, "Hey, do you have this one?" And then I check my list, or I have most of them memorized, what I need. Or so for the most part, that's how I get them. Just looking, and people send me one or two. I have actually got to meet in my travelings all when I'll be at a hotel or something, and I'll see a team there, and there's other graphers, and I'll hit them up and be like, hey, do you happen to have any of these? And actually, in the graphing community, this 91, 92 set is pretty popular, which is cool because it's the white background, so it makes it great for autographs. It's not the glossy finish, so they sign really nice. So a lot of graphers actually have gotten these signed over the years. So I have met a few people that I've got, 15 cards from or something. So it works out nice. It works out nice.
So where can people go to follow along if they want to track along with you on your journey? Let us know where people can follow you.
Twitter, man, at PDX Graphing. That's me. That's my one. I'm not a big social media guy, so that's unfortunately that's the only way you can find me is on Twitter.
Are you familiar at all with the more recent Panini Status set?
Status. Why does that sound familiar? I think so. Yes.
Well, when we get done, go check out Panini Status, because I think it was 1819 was maybe the first year of Panini Status, but the first thing that I thought of when I saw that is Skybox. And so if you ever get to the point where you finish this one off and you want the Skybox version 2.0, I think that Panini Status set, or one of those Panini Status sets, might be right up your alley, because it's got that 90s era Skybox vibe all over it.
I love it. I'll definitely have to check it out. But I know one thing is I don't need another project. I got too many random projects. I'm sure my wife will roll her eyes if I tell her I got another thing started. But like I said, this Skybox set is kind of like my lifelong project. It's that, that thing. I always reference the movie Terminal with Tom Hanks, and he comes to America to finish his dad's autographed jazz set. So I kind of always think of that as me, and maybe in 40 years or something, Jordan will do a sign and I'll finish and I'll put the last one on the shelf or something and figure that out. So we'll see.
I always like to talk a little bit about, too, when I'm having these conversations, are some of the other things that you collect. And at the very beginning, we talked about your background, like the background of the things that are behind you in your room there. But let people know a little bit. What are a couple of your favorite other pieces that you've collected that are Trailblazer related? Do you have a couple other things that stand out to you as some of your favorites?
Oh man, I got a ton of stuff. Like I said, I was pretty involved with the team. I had season tickets and had a couple ins with the players and connections. So I have actually a Brandon Roy case over here that I think I posted on Twitter before, but I have a bunch of game used shoes. Um, and I have some jerseys. So I'd probably say that I have a pair of Pippen game used Blazer shoes. So again, as a kid, like game used jersey, game used shoes, that was always a cool thing. Being here in the Portland area, Nike kind of is king around here. So I grew up loving basketball and shoes and things like that. So anytime I could get, both best of both worlds there and get a pair of shoes from a player, that was always the best to me. So I definitely have those. I got them in cases, so I can't pull them out easily, but I got a lot of that random stuff like that. The game used stuff I'd probably have to say is number one though, for sure.
Very cool. Well, Chaz, I really appreciate you spending a few minutes today talking about your 91, 92 Skybox autograph super collection. If anybody out there is not already following Chaz, check him out at PDX Graffin on Twitter. I will have the link to his Twitter in the show notes. And so you'll be able to go right there if you're not already following him. And if you've got any of these that are autographed, get a hold of him and see if there's some of the ones that he might still need. You know, he's showing a few here. He's going to continue to build that up, and hopefully someday we'll be able to have him back on after he's knocked out all of the autographs in this set. So thanks again, Chaz, for coming on.
Of course, Mike. Thanks. Anytime. Thanks for having me again. Thanks for letting me, share my passion. I appreciate you.